Part 90. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 898. Entered Elim Temple. The player's identity is detected as the king of the Eli Empire, and the alarm is cleared. Note, the master of the temple has formulated Luo Fengtian's rules. Anyone who comes to the temple cannot directly enter the interior. Shen Jian stepped forward. When he reappeared, he had arrived in front of the magnificent temple. A row of scarlet panels flashed in front of him. And right in front, two disciplinary knights wearing white armor had already noticed the intruder. The two seemed to be wondering. I doubt what I saw. But just 2 seconds later, the two disciplinary knights knelt down on one knee and said respectfully, "See the son of the empire." The sound is huge. Pedestrians passing by were also shocked. His Majesty, the new king has come to the holy city? This moment, there was an uproar. Everyone looked around. Looks uplifted. Although the holy city where the Elim temple is located is independent of the rule of the Eli Empire and is not controlled by the royal family, it still lives in this land after all. In addition to being believers, they are also subjects of the empire. As for the new king, the fourth prince, who has not heard of his legendary deeds? That was the most prestigious king among the past dynasties. Now, how could this new king not arouse cheers from the people of the holy city when he appeared in the holy city? Greetings to your majesty. I have met the king. Dear king, welcome to the holy city. Many civilians saluted in a decent manner. For a while, the streets are deserted. Shenjian. What a pain in the ass rules. Is this anti-privacy? The sense of boundary is so strong that it will be difficult to start at that time. He waved his hand. He said calmly, I came to discuss something with the saint. It involves the royal family and the temple, so there is no need to make a big deal about it. Finished. He walked in with ease. The disciplinary knights behind him and the people of the holy city all looked in admiration. On the second day after taking the throne, he was so diligent. Traveling thousands of miles away, he came to the temple in person as the king of the country to discuss state affairs with their saint, full of sincerity. His actions gave the saint enough face. Only in the hands of such a great king can the empire prosper. They are truly lucky to be the people of this king. They are just a group of ordinary civilians and cannot share anything. They can only spread His Majesty's virtues. Then, it only took less than half a day. The people of the entire holy city knew that the son of the empire came to the temple to discuss state affairs with the holy lady. It is said to be very important. It's about the royal family and the temple. It caused many people to start speculating. Doctor. Inside the temple, Shenjian hugged Saint Leia's slender waist, pressing her chest tightly against her proud capital, and looked lovingly at the saint's twinkling eyes. Did you miss me? Saint Leia was heartbroken when she was stared at by Shenjian. The girl Huaichun originally wanted to stay with her beloved. Now, Shenjian came to see her the day after he ascended the throne. How could she be unhappy? How much do you think? Shenjian continued to ask. With a slight smile on her face, she looked at the nun with a foul figure in her arms, who was also a saint today. Leia is still wearing the white saintly dress that she has repeated all year round. Her skin is fair and almost translucent, and her long pale golden hair hangs down to her buttocks. An astonishing arc held up the loose clothes, and the strange feeling from the pressure on his chest made him feel excited. It looks both holy and charming. Especially the look of youthful love on a young girl's face made people unable to help but execute her on the spot. Contaminate her sacred body with filthy things. I really want to. Saint Leia expressed her love very honestly. His eyes narrowed, filled with happiness. However, the look of her being held by a man made Delilah hate herself. His eyes immediately turned scarlet. Hengji said, "Do you know that in order to find you, Leah personally rushed from the holy city to the north? After hearing the news of your absence, she rushed to the royal city without stopping. You stinky man, how can you understand Leah, of contribution? Sister, the doctor is also very busy." Leah defended Shenjian. "Being busy is not an excuse, but if you really don't have time, forget it. I'm not that unreasonable, so I'll forgive you." Lila curled her lips and glared at Shenjian angrily. "It's my fault, I will definitely spend more time with you." Shenjian opened his mouth and came. "Keep saying words of praise. Full of emotional value." After a series of compliments, even Lila felt embarrassed and took the initiative to shrink back. The little face looks happy. Subsequently, eyes facing each other. Shenjian's eyes finally fell on Leah's lips. Leah's body trembled slightly when she was looked at by such a scorching gaze. For her who had already experienced things between men and women, how could she not know the meaning in Shenjian's eyes? But this is the temple. It was her place of prayer. The last time she had sex here and defiled the sacred temple, she prayed for a whole month before she got rid of the guilt in her heart. "Doctor, this is God, The words are not finished yet." The lips were blocked. Saint Leah's body went limp, as if lightning flashed through her mind. Her thoughts were suddenly crushed and turned into a blank. Only a stream of electricity came from her lips, making her body numb. Unknowingly, she was already being held in Shenjian's arms. He tasted the red lips of the saint enshrined by the believers in the holy city. "For a long time. Until the suffocation hit me." This passionate young couple finally let go. Leah moaned repeatedly, her body rose and fell, her cheeks were flushed, her eyes were full of spring, and her holy temperament could not resist this charm from the inside out. Two temperaments coexist. It's simply addictive. Shenjian was itching to see it. He picked up the other person and walked towards the dormitory in his memory. "Doctor, the glorious ghost is watching us." Saint Leia buried her head in Shenjian's chest and said shyly. Shenjian paused. There was a strange look on his face. If that glorious ghost with voyeurism is really watching, then he should really be grateful to you. Certainly. He also knew that no one knew about this little hobby of the glory ghost and God except him. What Saint Leia actually meant was that this was a temple, a supernatural place established by the glory ghost and God. This watching was an adjective, not a noun. It's normal for a man to fall in love with a woman. Did the glorious ghosts and gods tell you to cut off any love? How can a stranger who has no love even serve you adults wholeheartedly? Shenjian talked eloquently. So, love is the best accelerant, allowing you to serve you adults better. Lila. She was defeated by the shamelessness of the stinky man. But she didn't stop it either. Because she and Leah have a twin relationship, everything Leah can feel will be completely returned to her. For example, the passionate kiss just now made her collapse and her face was red. She was looking forward to everything that came next. Looking forward to going to Qiumingshan with the stinky man. That can only happen once. A shy voice came from far away. It seemed like a moan that had been suppressed for a long time. It immediately ignited the atmosphere at the scene. "Doctor, isn't it just once?" "I haven't, not even once." "But doctor, you're in violation." "Smelly man, my sister has fainted, that's enough for you." "Wait, I'm convinced." Outside world. The two disciplinary knights stood guard from morning to night, looking at every passerby who came and went with wary expressions. Now, they are given a sacred mission. That is to guard the door of the temple and not let anyone disturb the conversation between His Majesty and the saint. Is this discussion taking too long? You don't understand. National affairs are related to the country. If they are not handled well, it may cause turmoil in the empire. How can we not be more rigorous? Yes, there is no small matter in the empire, and His Majesty is too diligent in his work. I cried to death. It is indeed the empire's good fortune to meet such a good king. For a long time. Saint Leia wakes up leisurely. She pouted and looked at Shen Jian angrily. Doctor, you are too foul. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. You can just tell me if it's just once, but if you really feel sorry for me, I'll help you talk to the glorious ghosts and gods, and I'll take you out directly next time. Leia repeatedly stopped him. Doctor, please stop teasing me. Besides, even if you want to contact the glorious ghost and god, you can't. Hear the words. Shen Jian was slightly startled. Could not be reached. Leia nodded and explained, since more than a month ago, I have been unable to contact the glorious ghosts and gods. I can feel that the glorious ghosts and gods are in the same state, but the connection is not possible and I cannot talk. Shen Jian frowned slightly. More than a month ago? Wasn't that when he was still recovering Luo Fengtian in the Qingguo dungeon? At once. Shen Jian suddenly remembered. After he obtained the dragon energy from the dragon energy host in Hutu Mountain, he contacted the glorious ghosts and gods and explained to them that he no longer needed the dragon energy from Luo Fengtian, the fifth place. The glorious ghosts and spirits told him that the dragon energy fell into the hands of others, which was terrifying. The level is not low, at least it is the world-destroying level ghost and god. He originally thought that the glorious ghosts and gods were worthy of each other. But now, something seems to be wrong here. So much so that the glorious ghosts and gods could not even take back the incarnation of their faith, and were forced to cut off contact. Think of this. Shen Jian did not hesitate. A hexagonal golden disc appeared behind him. The disc rotates. It froze on a ghostly figure shrouded in black robes. That was the secret guard commander of the Qing Kingdom dungeon, and he had the power of syncing. All your thoughts are true. Just outline the image of the glorious ghosts and gods, and the other party will follow the medium and come here. The price is to be swallowed up by the glorious ghosts and gods. Soon. Supernatural activation. The yin energy in Shen Jian's body was constantly declining, and the downward trend was rapid. His frown deepened. Because the quality of the yin qi that had just been swallowed was already equivalent to the amount of several ghosts and gods, this situation was obviously abnormal. Under normal circumstances, the glorious ghosts and gods would not need to swallow so much of his yin qi to descend through the medium. It feels like there is an invisible layer of restraint among them, blocking the formation of the medium. Shen Jian looked gloomy. A faint light flashed in his eyes. More pure yin qi keeps flowing out. The next second, bright golden light began to emerge, interweaving a figure shrouded in golden light. A shout also sounded. You shameless man, I was trying to help you, but you only think of me now. Shen Jian. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 899. At this time, the dazzling golden light is taking shape with difficulty. A body was shrouded in golden light, and the figure of a goddess was looming. Gradually, the golden light dispersed. A woman wearing a gilt dress and a white patterned shawl appeared with an angry look on her face. There are stars behind her. It makes her look extremely divine. Just like the goddess above the 9 heavens, high and indescribable. However, as soon as the other party spoke, his words were misleading. Watch this scene. Saint Leia was stunned. Somewhat naively, they looked at the goddess they served with such angry expressions. I didn't know what happened for a while. On the other hand, Guanghui Ghost glanced angrily at Shen Jian and the surrounding environment, and saw Leia, who was disheveled and still had a moist look between her eyebrows. She became even more angry. Silver teeth are clenching. The damn stinky man actually took advantage of her absence to have sex with men and women in her temple, and also bullied her saint. More importantly, she didn't have a chance to see it. This was simply more uncomfortable for her than before. Shen Jian, on the other hand, said with great interest, "Looking at you, it doesn't look like you are in any trouble. You still have time to maintain your idle baggage." The glorious ghost curled his lips. But then, his face turned serious. "Who said it's not troublesome? It's big trouble. I was arrested." Shen Jian raised his eyebrows, on purpose or accidentally. It was intentional and careless. In front of Shen Jian and the saint who knew him best, her idle baggage was not heavy. She moved her steps and was about to sit on the bed, but her eyes swept over a large pool of water stains on the bed that seemed to be free of charge. Her red lips, he couldn't help but pull at it, and reluctantly picked a corner of the bed that was not affected by the war, and groaned. "You also know that I only used half of my faith to walk in the extremely yin land at the beginning. Even so, I still have the strength to destroy world-level ghosts and gods. However, when negotiating for dragon energy, things couldn't be negotiated for a time. Plus I said I no longer need dragon energy, so I plan to return. But at this moment, the transaction party launched a supernatural attack on me. I was not aware of it for a moment and was attacked. Even the connection between supernatural beliefs was forced to be cut off. After I knew the seriousness of the matter, I transferred all my beliefs to they all gathered there and found themselves imprisoned. Although they couldn't trap me, I still stayed and wanted to know what happened. Hear this. The first one to show obvious mood swings was Saint Leah, who secretly covered herself with sheets and blushed, afraid to see anyone. She blinked Kazlan's big eyes, which were filled with shock. The goddess who can make the world-destroying level ghosts and gods be attacked all of a sudden and lose resistance. Could it be that the person who made this attack was a disaster-level ghost and god above the world-destroying level ghosts and gods? Otherwise, with the strength of the goddess, how could she encounter such a situation? Shen Jian also cast a surprised look. In his perception, the total amount of yin energy during the heyday of the glorious ghosts and gods was roughly around 460,000, which was slightly higher than that of Emperor Cheng. Half of the incarnation of supernatural beliefs is almost the 300,000 yin chi value of the world-destroying level ghosts and gods for the first time. Coupled with the level of the glorious ghosts and gods themselves, even if Emperor Qing personally takes action, he may not be able to suppress the glorious ghosts and gods at once. In this fifth place, Luo Fengtian, a land without an owner, there is actually a being stronger than Emperor Qing, the glorious ghost and god. As if knowing Shen Jian's doubts, the glorious ghost and god stared at Shen Jian seriously and said word by word, "That person is only infinitely close to the level of world-destroying ghosts and gods, but the other person holds an ancient gong in one hand and a hammer in the other, just 3 knocks, and he suppressed me instantly. I suspect that those are the legendary soul-suppressing gong and soul-suppressing hammer." Shen Jian was shocked. The soul-suppressing gong and the soul-suppressing hammer are items from the underworld, and are the exclusive weapons of the night-wandering god. Being able to use the body of a ghost to suppress the glorious ghosts and gods who have half the faith, this is absolutely genuine. Think about it. Shen Jian took out 2 things. Is it these 2? Underworld weapon soul calming gong, exclusive for night traveling god. Introduce : Underworld weapon soul suppressing hammer, exclusive to night traveling god. Introduce : The face of the glorious ghost and god was solemn. Yes, that's it. Hear this. Shen Jian's eyes became much darker. Po Meng is suspected to be in the 5th place of Luo Fengtian. Now, the underworld weapon dedicated to the night travel god has also appeared there. This 5th place of Luo Fengtian is too abnormal. But the more this happens, the more it proves that Po Meng's whereabouts are in Luo Fengtian, the 5th place. Think of this. Shen Jian is not worried but happy. There was a look of excitement in his eyes. He wished that Luo Fengtian was full of acquaintances from the underworld. It's easy to get things done with acquaintances. No further training is required and they can be directly invested in the construction of the underworld. How could he let such a talent go? While thinking, Shen Jian came to his senses. A weird smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Do you know the reason why that group of people arrested you? Do you know how many people there are? If you have any other information, please tell me. Seeing Shen Jian's appearance, Huanghui Ghost couldn't help but shudder, and continued, the thing happened so suddenly, I don't know much about it, but I guess that this person's purpose of dealing with me should be related to dragon energy. During my imprisonment, this person asked me many times about the purpose of collecting dragon energy, and I also heard that the other person said a name, which should be his master. What name? What an evil ghost king! The smile on Shen Jian's face became even stronger. A master who is infinitely close to being a world-destroying ghost and god. His name is suffixed with Ghost King? This is unreasonable no matter how you look at it. But what if this Ghost King does not refer to the horror level of the horror world, but the Ghost King among the top 10 evil men in the underworld? This Ghost King is not that Ghost King. Then it all makes sense. The top 10 shady men in the underworld, whether they are bull-headed and horse-faced, black and white impermanents, or day-traveling gods, are not individuals, but a collective name for a group. Among the top 10 yin handsome men, in addition to the familiar ones mentioned above, there are also the Ghost King, Leopard Tail, Bird's Beak, Fish Gills, and Wasp. The evil Ghost King is a member of the group of Ghost Kings among the top 10 evil commanders. This level of evil handsome, the lowest level of terror is ghosts and gods. If this multi-evil Ghost King is one of the lucky ones who managed to survive and enter Luo Fengtian in the mythical age, then even if the terrifying level reaches the world-destroying level, it is not impossible. And because he is the Yin Shui of the underworld, the other party naturally knows the significance of collecting Luo Fengtian's authority. Under this premise, it is not incomprehensible to take action against the glorious ghosts and gods. At this time, the ethereal voice of the glorious ghost continued, I also thought of one thing. This evil Ghost King's force is very famous in the extremely yin land, but it seems that there are still opponents. After I returned to my heyday, I eavesdropped. When someone talked about the issue of martial law, it seemed that they had received news that someone was planning to kidnap me and keep me under strict guard. This feeling of secretly spying on other people's secrets. The word stopped abruptly. Guanghui Gishan seemed to know that he had said too much, and exposed the little quirk in his heart, and quickly changed the subject. I mean, in order to help you, I can only deliberately be caught by the enemy and collect intelligence secretly. It would be better for you. It took so long to remember my existence. Shen Jian. You are obviously enjoying the pleasure of having your fetish satisfied. If I pull you away now, you might not even want to. But it has to be said that the glorious ghosts and gods did bring him big news. Luo Fengtian's situation in the 5th place was more mysterious than he imagined. To be able to put a hostile force under martial law against a sinister commander from the underworld, this does not seem like something that a local ghost in a horror world can do. He suspected that not only Meng Po and the evil Ghost King, but also more of the former Yin commanders of the underworld, Luo Fengtian, were located here. When is the prison robbery you mentioned about? He pondered for a moment. Shen Jian asked. 5 days later. The glorious ghost replied quickly. Very good, I'd like to see how many more surprises this place can give me. Shen Jian grinned. At this time, a crisp ringing sound rang out. The sound was disembodied. It seemed to be coming from the void, and it seemed to be right before our eyes. At once, the face of the glorious ghost changed slightly. I couldn't help but curse out. Damn it, how many such gods do you still have in the underworld? My medium has begun to become unstable. I must have noticed supernatural fluctuations. I won't say anything anymore. Otherwise, if it is discovered that it was me, I will not be able to hear these secrets in the future. Say it. Glorious ghosts and gods hurriedly offline. The golden light dissipated rapidly. Never seen again. Shen Jian's eyes were dark. Because he heard that the source of the ringing sound was the soul-soothing bell. This is the Ghost King's exclusive underworld weapon. He once used it in a supernatural amusement park. If he shook it, all the ghosts who heard the bell would stop their activities. Whether they were using supernatural powers or planning to use supernatural powers, they would be forcibly terminated. In layman's terms, it is a range of forced silence skills. This made Shen Jian even more interested in the fifth place, Luo Fengtian. An underworld commander holding an underworld weapon and possessing the power of world-destroying ghosts and gods, his threat level is already comparable to that of Emperor Qing, the glorious ghosts and gods, and even to a certain extent, is superior to the two. After all, the upper limit of the underworld weapon depends on the user, not the tool itself. If the most common world-destroying level ghost and god can hold a judge-level ghost weapon, it will not be a problem to kill ghosts and gods that are infinitely close to the disaster level. Judging from the currently known information, this evil Ghost King has at least 3 underworld weapons in his hands, and it is normal to say that his overall strength is better than that of Emperor Qing. Doctor, will the goddess be okay? Saint Leia looked worriedly at the direction where the glorious ghost and god disappeared. The sound of the bell just now was also shocking, causing her and her sister to lose touch with each other. To know. It came from the fifth place, Luo Fengtian, which is another deep ghost realm thousands of miles away. When it was transmitted to her, it actually had such an effect. If she was attacked in person, I'm afraid it would be, in a short time, it was almost like falling into a deep sleep. She's not that fragile. As if he knew what Leah was thinking, Shen Jian shook his head and said, it was transmitted along the medium. Although the soul-suppressing bell is also a ghost weapon, it does not have the ability to be transmitted across Luo Fengtian, and the effect is not that terrible. Listen to this. Saint Leia finally showed a relaxed expression. She has 100% trust in Shen Jian. She believed whatever Shen Jian said. By the way, doctor, let me tell you something secretly. At this time, Leah seemed to remember something. While her sister was still disconnecting from her, she secretly whispered in Shen Jian's ear, Sister Zillis also misses the doctor. When you left the doctor without saying goodbye, Sister Zillis came to see you several times, but she didn't let me tell you, doctor, don't reveal the secret. Finished. Saint Leia jumped away. Blinked. As if to say, this is a secret between me and the doctor, and I cannot let my sister know. Shen Jian rubbed her head. Somewhat emotional. What is the style of a big woman? That's it? Encourage him to find other women, which is what Leah can do. That being the case, it's not good for him to break Leah's heart. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 900. Night. Ghost Duke Silas, the head of the Inoatan family, returned to the Duke's palace in the Holy City. There was a hint of tiredness on her face. As one of the 4 holy dukes of the empire and the newly appointed sword of the empire, the responsibilities on her shoulders are not easy. Not only is he the link that stabilizes the relationship between the royal city and the holy city, but he also shoulders the power of life and death. He is the executioner that everyone in the imperial nobles fears. Especially now, with the new king taking the throne, all the old order needs to be properly handled, and changes are inevitable. Under such circumstances, it is difficult for the crown prince, the sixth princess, to make all the nobles obey. At this time, she, the sword of the empire, is needed to cut off all obstacles. Think of this. She couldn't help but sigh. Wash yourself up. He picked up a glass of red wine and leaned on the balcony railing of the main castle, with a bit of nostalgia flashing in his eyes. She didn't care that much that the fourth prince was the former pastor of the church. She just assumed that His Majesty came here hiding his identity in order to establish a cooperative relationship with the Elim temple. But obviously I have found him, but why? It feels like he is further away from me. Ghost Duke Hillis' eyes were complicated. She didn't know exactly what she was thinking now, but she knew that she wanted to see this man again, and missed the days when Shen Jian blocked a fatal blow for herself and recuperated in the Duke's mansion. Every time I think of it, a touch of tenderness appears in my eyes. Unfortunately, no such chance. Now, Shen Jiangui is the new king of the Eli Empire. Their identities have changed drastically. Coupled with their unpredictable whereabouts, it is only a luxury to hope that they can get along with each other as before. She could only bury this delusion deep in her heart. Just thinking about it? Abruptly, a slightly teasing voice sounded, "Why does our imperial sword have such a sad expression? If others see this, I'm afraid many people will be heartbroken." Hear the words. Ghost Duke Hillis was stunned. Look subconsciously. Shen Jian was seen standing under the balcony, looking at her from afar, with a warm smile on his face. This moment. She was in a daze for a moment. I just feel that the scene is so similar to before. Back then, when Shen Jian was still a young pastor in the church and still recovering from his injuries at her home, the two of them looked at each other like this, and with just that one look, she sent out the invitation out of nowhere. Invite Shen Jian to come up for a wine tasting. His Majesty. Ghost Duke Hillis was stunned, as if he had never thought that Shen Jian would appear here at this time. What? You don't invite me to come up and sit down? That's not what you said last time. Shen Jian's mouth curled up slightly. His eyes moved. Ghost Duke Hillis. Current status, surprise, surprise, joy, panic. Favorability, 84, intimate. See this. The strange color in Shen Jian's eyes was a little darker. He still remembered that when he first entered the Eli Empire dungeon, his strategy for the Ghost Duke had been initially completed. In the end, his favorability level stayed at more than 70 points. Now that he has not seen him for several months, his favorability level has directly reached the intimacy stage. It seems there was no need for him to work any harder. Hear this. Only then did Ghost Duke Hillis realize that this was not her hallucination, Shen Jian was really here. Your Majesty, why are you here? Is there anything you need me to do? She jumped right down. A height of several meters is nothing to a ghost. However, she thought so. Shen Jian doesn't think so. The moment the Ghost Duke jumped down, Shen Jian stretched out his hand to catch the Duchess, who appeared in a special way. Nephrite is in my arms. A strong scent of roses hit my nostrils. At this time, Ghost Duke Hillis also shouted shyly, her two naked feet curled up nervously, Your Majesty, this height is nothing to me. Shen Jian's expression remained unchanged, and he went upstairs with the Duchess in his arms. Letting a woman fall freely is not what a gentleman should do. What's more, you are the sword of the empire that I personally recognize. If you are injured, I will also feel distressed. Finished. Then he put the other party back on the sofa. Would you like another relaxing massage? Shen Jian blinked. The voice is full of temptation. The Ghost Duke lowered his head, feeling more ashamed than anything else. Because that massage left a deep impression on her. That time. Although she was separated by clothes, it was true that Shen Jian touched her all over. Now that she heard Shen Jian mention massage again, she didn't even think about how inappropriate it was to have a king of the empire massage her. Her thoughts were completely confused. Shen Jian did not hesitate. He grabbed the Duchess's white wax-like jade leg, placed it on his own leg, and kneaded it gently. His other hand grabbed the sole of her foot and stroked it gently. Ghost Duke Hillis sat sideways on the sofa, staring at Shen Jian's profile, looking at his focused and deep eyes, which seemed to become blurred. Itch. She raised her other foot and kicked Shen Jian's waist. See no response. She became bolder. Kicked harder. Shen Jian turned around, grabbed the troublesome foot, and pressed it hard towards the sole of the foot. Anthracene. The Ghost Duke groaned. The voice is sultry. Numbing. Shen Jian paused. The massaging hand also began to be dishonest, moving up the calf and kneading the plump and round thigh. It's like a massage here and there, it's clearly arousing interest. For a while, the Ghost Duke's face became more and more rosy. Teeth clenched. Try not to make any more embarrassing noises. But the gradually aggravating breathing and the decreasing temperature around her spoke of her inner unrest at the moment. Of course she knew what Shen Jian was doing. This is beyond the acceptable range of massage. Totally playing with fire. But there was a tacit understanding between them both. I know that you are being reserved, and you also know that I have evil intentions. Finally, when Shen Jian was about to find the birth point, the Ghost Duke stretched out his hand to stop Shen Jian's next increasingly bold move. But the strength of the resistance gave people a feeling of wanting to resist but to welcome them. Shen Jian did not hesitate. He hugged the Ghost Duke and kissed his cold red lips. The palms of his hands were caressing up and down his spine. The Ghost Duke's body stiffened for 2 or 3 seconds, and then he forgot everything. He put his hands on Shen Jian's shoulders and responded enthusiastically. Breath becomes hot. The weight of the two people pressed on the soft sofa, making the sofa dent a bit, and the scattered clothes were also removed one by one. The hot and humid rose fragrance blows on the cheeks. Your Majesty, I don't want to regret. The next day, the sun shines in. Shen Jian woke up leisurely and glanced at Ghost Duke Hillis, who was still sleeping next to him with a happy expression. A corner of the quilt that was slightly lifted revealed a gleam of bright white skin. It made him sober and energetic again. Shen Jian sighed with emotion in his eyes. No wonder there is a saying that the king does not go to court early. If the Ghost Duke, the good sister-in-law and others were brought here, he would be too scared to do anything else. I just want to linger in the gentle countryside for one day. After giving instructions to the maid in the Duke's palace, Shen's figure disappeared from the spot. The next few days, he travels between the real world and the Eli Empire. Both rain and dew are touched. Today I will chat with my sister-in-law, send her billions of blessings, and then go next door to experience the fun of role-playing with the female knight next to my sister-in-law behind her back. Tomorrow, go to the temple, in a sacred and solemn place, contaminate the most holy and flawless saint in the hearts of the people of the holy city with filth, and then make Lila, the little witch, beg for mercy again and again. The day after tomorrow, quietly come to the Duke's palace and enjoy a crazy night with the Duchess. In the passage of time like this, 5 days passed quickly. This day, Shen Jian came to Alim Temple. The disciplinary knight at the door was already used to strange things. Although I don't know why His Majesty needs to come to the Holy Lady every 3 days to discuss it, but it's a matter of state anyway. It is normal for the matter to be discussed for several days when it concerns the future of the empire. No fuss required. Temple of Alim. Shen Jian once again used the supernatural power of the spy commander to make the glorious ghosts and gods come back through the medium. I thought you forgot again. The glorious ghost looked at it for the first time and saw that there was no smell in the air and there was no messy filth around. Then he smiled with satisfaction. "How's the situation?" Shen Jian asked. "There has been a slight change. Since the last time I was almost discovered, the evil Ghost King's men have started to keep a tight watch, but it also gave me the opportunity to eavesdrop on more information. Aren't you looking for the legendary goddess Mengpo? I heard that the person who was on guard for that group of people was probably the person suspected of being God Mengpo. The two waves of people seemed to have mistook me for someone else, and they were all closely planning some kind of plan. Hear this." Shen Jian looked strange. The evil Ghost King has imprisoned the glorious ghosts and gods, and the existence suspected of Mengpo is ready to rob them. The only thing in common between these things is undoubtedly the dragon's energy. An incomplete dragon energy is of little use to a real-world destroying ghost and god, not to mention that it is not under the jurisdiction of the local Luo Feng Tian. It is a type that is tasteless to eat and a pity to throw away. In this situation, who else would deliberately collect this dragon energy? The promise is, the underworld. These people don't think that the glorious ghosts and gods are the lords or heirs of the underworld, right? If so, that would be interesting. Judging from the current situation, the evil Ghost King is obviously on the opposite side of the underworld. Whether he is imprisoning the glorious ghosts or being on guard against the existence of Po Man, it shows that his purpose is not good for the underworld. Is this the plan to use the radiant ghosts and gods to lure out the remaining ghost gods suspected to be from the underworld, so that they can all be caught in one fell swoop? Shen Jian was thoughtful. The excitement in his eyes deepened. Very good, I like this kind of mixed situation best. See this? The glorious ghost asked curiously, how do you want to come here? Let's talk about it first, I can't help you now. No need to bother, just think of me. Shen Jian grinned. Glorious ghost? Clam. Thinking of you? What's the meaning? In times of doubt. I saw Shen Jian's eyes projecting a faint light. It was not the previous mode when he opened the form of King Yama, but a brand new scene. The originally deep black pupils turned into a pure dark color in an instant, like two vortexes that were constantly rippling, mysterious and eternal. That is the power of reincarnation. It is passive and cannot be viewed directly. As long as anyone or anything has an idea of his name or appearance, he will be able to detect it immediately, cast his gaze on it, and obliterate it from the source. Next moment, Shen Jian followed the vague response. His gaze was unrestricted, and when he opened it again, he had already focused on a land filled with death and gloom. A weird smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The fifth place, Luo Feng Tian, has been found. End of this chapter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 901. It was a deathly silent, ghostly place. The glorious ghosts and gods took back their faith and synchronized the messages of conversation. She was in a dungeon, her limbs and neck were imprisoned by soul-enchanting chains, which were filled with supernatural power, as if runes were flashing, exuding a suppressive effect. Absolute yin energy, absolute supernatural power, absolute action. Apparently, this is a supernatural environment specially designed for her, which can suppress a real-world destroying ghost and god. If it were an ordinary world-destroying ghost or god, he would probably be helpless at this moment and would have no choice but to be at the mercy of others. But she is different. She is the oldest incarnation of supernatural beliefs in the horror world. As long as there are still people who believe in her, her power is endless. Even if she dies, she can quickly revive with the prayers of millions of believers. It can be said. In a way, she is truly immortal. What's more, she is only one step away from the disaster level ghosts and gods. In terms of terror level, she is several levels far beyond the world-destroying level ghosts and gods. The soul-grabbing chain that can suppress the world-destroying level ghosts and gods cannot suppress her. The reason why I didn't leave was just to join in the fun and satisfy my little hobby. Certainly. Collecting information for Shen Jian is also a big reason. Messages synchronized. She was confused. Miss him? Make her think of that scumbag who was so arrogant in her temple? Are you sure you're not flirting with her? To this, the glorious ghost expressed deep suspicion. She has great distrust in Shen Jian's character. But the more she felt that this scumbag was having sex with her, the more she couldn't help but think of the scene where he and Leah had sex in the temple. That time. She hid in the dark. No. Can't think about it anymore. I couldn't help it if I thought about it again. That's what I thought. Buzz. A strange noise sounded in the outside world. The glorious ghost raised his head, his eyes penetrated the obstacles and saw the outside world. At once. Pupils contract violently. He is too high profile. Buzz. Outside world. Above the clouds. The dark clouds began to roll in, and the momentum reached its peak. All the ghosts in this area raised their heads, showing shock and horror on their faces. I saw a huge eye appearing in the sky. In the pupils, there is an endless vortex of dark color. Just one glance, and your mind and soul seem to be sucked into the eye of the whirlpool, completely sinking into it. All the ghosts are scary. Even if you just glance at it, you will feel as if your life is in the hands of others. What a terrifying existence this is. It is mysterious, great, and mysterious. It is like the eternal Supreme Master has opened his eyes here and let the world know his presence. This moment. In the realm below, thousands of ghosts are paying attention to who the owner of this eye is, and who possesses such power. Just waiting like this. The group of ghosts suddenly discovered. Those eyes with a deep whirlpool slowly dissipated in the sky. As if it had never appeared before. Everyone was surprised. Could it be that the owner of this eye just wanted to come here and just blinked lazily when he was sleeping? Mad. This is too scary. I almost thought we were going to meet Taiki. Next time you open your eyes, can you say hello first? For a long time. Until it's sure the weather is calm. Everyone was relieved. Little did I know. At this time. The boundary below. Shen Jian stared at the dim city in front of him, with a strange smile on his face. The fifth place, Luo Fengtian, will be found in Wuchen Tiangong tomorrow morning. Timely. A row of scarlet panels emerged. It has been detected that the player King Yama entered the Bloody City through improper means, and is being analyzed. Congratulations to King of Yama for becoming the first player to enter the Bloody City, and has obtained the achievement, Pioneer. Depending on how well players explore the dungeon, corresponding rewards can be given. It has been detected that the player's current level is 67 and does not meet the entry conditions due to illegal operations. The difficulty of the current copy cannot be reduced. Difficulty, 7 stars. Note, due to illegal operations, the human aura cannot be masked for players. Note, due to illegal operations, there are no main quests in the current copy. Note, due to illegal operations, there are no rewards for the current copy. Note, due to illegal operations, players communicating with local NPCs will trigger random tasks at any time. Note, good luck to the players. A series of scarlet fonts kept popping up. As red as blood. It was as if he was warning Shen Jian about the danger of this place. At the same time, Shen Jian also noticed the bright words 7-star difficulty. The Bloody City is the name of Luo Fengtian in the 5th place. This is an extremely yin place, the most suitable place for evil ghosts to live. If you can stay in this cannibalistic place for a year, even if you do nothing, the terror level will be raised to the red level. In 3 years, he was promoted to Ghost King. 10 years later, he became the Abyss level Ghost King. 50 years, top ghost king. As for the ghosts and gods above the top ghost kings, they need to go to the core place with the strongest yin-chi environment for hundreds of years to advance. And such a core place is controlled by the overlord of the forces here, and the evil ghosts have no chance to get close. In Shen Jian's mind, he recalled the information that Guanghui ghost and god had said. In the fifth place, Luo Fengtian only has one city, and that is the bloody capital where he is now. There are 3 overlord-level forces in the city. 1. The 100 Ghost Society. The evil ghost king is the president. 2nd, Rebirth Pavilion. The owner of the pavilion is unknown. However, it is worth mentioning that the potion of drunken life and dream of death is a supernatural thing produced by this force. The third one, Yinshen Palace. The palace master was the original owner of the Blood City, until the 100 Ghost Society and the Rebirth Pavilion appeared one after another and occupied the territory belonging to the Yinshen Palace, causing most of its power to disintegrate and lose its previous glory. But the skinny camel is bigger than the horse, and it still firmly occupies the 3rd place in the bloody capital. Other than that, the glorious ghosts and gods don't know much. After all, she had spent most of her time looking for dragon energy, and had no time to care about the battles between these forces. All this information about forces was collected by the glorious ghosts and gods in the past few days. In this regard, this old woman who likes to spy on other people's pleasures is indeed unique, especially the brainwashing effect of believing in supernatural beings, which is comparable to that of Buddhist missionaries. But Shen Jian was not in a hurry to find the glorious ghosts and gods. Because he also wants to know how many people related to the underworld will be involved in the dispute between these 3 major forces, and he doesn't want anyone to slip through the net. Because of this, he did not appear directly in the place where the glorious ghosts and gods were imprisoned, but walked into the bloody city. There is no distinction between day and night in the city. The time is always 6 o'clock in the evening, and the sky is slightly dim. Such a supernatural environment reminded Shen Jian of the Jiangbei area in the horror world. The Jiangbei game area is covered in scarlet all year round. The ghosts living here have an extremely fanatical pursuit of colorful things, and because they face the same environment all year round, most of them have bad tempers and are easily ignited at a moment's notice. And this bloody city also has the same problem. And, according to his understanding, the living environment in the bloody city is similar to that of a ghost town. You can attack anyone at will. Sometimes you may be walking on the road and if you don't pay attention, your heart will be ripped out and your head will be removed. You need to open one eye and close one eye when sleeping, otherwise there will be no chance of sleeping. Those who can survive in such a high-pressure environment are vicious and cruel ghosts and evil spirits. With this thought, Shen Jian quickly entered the city. Hey, little brother, you are here to participate in the competition to find a bride, right? I have the most detailed information here. You only need a little reward, and you can get a beautiful woman. At this time, a beggar ghost in ragged clothes, with only half a head on his face, and holding a cane stepped forward. His gloomy voice was lowered so that only Shen Jian could hear it. Shen Jian? The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, a martial arts contest to recruit a bride. Hearing this word in a place like this, he had to say that he felt a strong sense of violation. And he had an intuition that this special meow was probably related to the glorious ghosts and gods. Talk about it? There was some interest in Shen Jian's eyes. The beggar ghost chuckled and didn't care whether Shen Jian could come up with the so-called reward. He told everything in one breath, as if he was worried that he would be too slow and Shen Jian refused. It's like this. The president of the 100 Demon Society announced 3 days ago that they will hold a competition to recruit a bride. The winner will be able to marry a world-destroying ghost and god who has been suppressed and has no power to resist. To be the husband of a world-destroying ghost and god. The condition for participating is that you have a big power behind you. This is a competition where power is the condition for participation. Individuals cannot participate. Therefore, if I want to participate in the competition, I need to join any force in the bloody city. What, little brother, are you excited? That is a living world-destroying ghost and god, a legendary existence. If the ghosts were not suppressed by the 100 Ghost Society, no one would be able to be her husband. Such a good thing, maybe it's just this time. The beggar ghost smiled very sinisterly. He looks like if you die under the peonies, you will be a ghost even if you are a ghost. Shenjian. Alright. He admitted that he really wanted to know how good the first-grade world-destroying ghosts and gods could be at contracting their own muscles. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigwa. Chapter 902. Listen to the beggar ghost story. At once. A row of scarlet panels suddenly rose. Random copy task has been triggered. Random mission, join any force and participate in the competition to recruit a bride. Content, the bloody city has ushered in a golden age that is rare in a century. Heroes compete for the final champion. Players need to join any force to obtain a quota before the registration for the martial arts contest officially ends. Task tips, only by joining a big force can you be qualified. Countdown, 3 hours. Note, due to player violations, there are no rewards for the current random tasks. Note, due to the player's illegal operation, this task has been forcibly opened and the player cannot refuse. Scarlet words flashed by. It flows like a drop of blood. It seems to be telling Shenjian how difficult it is to enter a dungeon that does not meet the player's level through illegal operations and how restrictive it is. Shenjian glanced at it. Look back. Judging from the current situation, there are indeed great restrictions on entering high-difficulty dungeons that have never been opened in horror games. There are various limitations visible to the naked eye on the panel. More importantly, there are no rewards for completing tasks. As long as players want to integrate into the world of the dungeon, they not only need to cover up their aura of being alive at all times, but also prevent communication with NPCs in the dungeon. Otherwise similar random tasks may be triggered at any time. But as long as players want to survive, they must understand the situation in the bloody city, and triggering random tasks is inevitable. There is no reward for triggering the task, but players need to risk their lives to complete it. And because there are no artificial restrictions like thriller games, the difficulty of random tasks is unknown. It may be 3 stars, it may be 5 stars, or it may be the highest 7-star difficulty. For example, the difficulty of the random tasks he triggered now was at least 5 stars. It can be said that if other players had come in, they might not have been able to survive the first day. Shenjian clicked his tongue. This pioneering achievement doesn't seem like a good thing. It's completely like hanging a carrot in front, forcing the donkey to continue to seek death. Thinking. Shenjian returned his attention to the beggar ghost in front of him. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Is there anything else?" Seeing Shenjian's interest, the beggar ghost smiled sinisterly again. "Brother, if you want to know more, you will have to pay me. Besides, I just told you so much information. According to the principle of equal exchange, do you have to give me some compensation first?" The reason why he was guarding the door of the bloody city was to deceive the outsiders who came from the deserted land. After all, everyone in the bloody city knew this information and could find it easily. Here, you can deceive as many as you can. Anyway, there are fools every year, and there are especially many of them this year. Hear this. Think about it. Shenjian took out a thriller coin from his body. He said proudly, "Is it enough? If it's not enough, I'll add more." Beggar ghost. He froze. His eyes paused on the thriller coin. It's not that I was attracted by the thriller coins, but I felt, this person was too special. A thriller coin? You're humming sending away beggars. I have lived in the bloody city for so long, and I have never seen anything settled with a thriller coin. Who do you look down on? Even though I'm a beggar, I still have some backbone. I won't take anything less than 100 UN seriously. Are you insulting me by saying this? There was a bit of resentment in the beggar ghost's eyes. Only half of the ghost's face was left, with a darker look and a colder tone. Haha, little brother, you may not understand the rules of the bloody city. Except for the most basic eating, horror coins are of no use here. The trading rule here is barter for barter. As long as both parties agree to the exchange party can propose the transaction items it needs, and the other party must accept it unconditionally. This is the rule of the bloody city, and no one is allowed to violate it, otherwise, hundreds of ghosts will be waiting for you. It will be enforced by the 3 overlord-level forces of Hui, Resurrection Pavilion, and Yinshen Palace. I just told you so much, little brother. The reward I want is not excessive. Just give me a ghost body with a diameter of no less than 10 centimeters. The beggar ghost showed a hideous smile as if his conspiracy had succeeded. It is a sure thing to deceive fools who come from such a desolate land, especially those who come to the bloody city for the first time. The rule of the bloody city is to exchange things for things, but those who know a little about the rules know to agree on the reward in advance, but people like Shenjian, who is obviously here for the first time, obviously don't know this. At this time, as long as the other party accepts his favor, no matter how excessive the reward he proposes, the other party must comply. If he couldn't do that, he had the right to kill the other party as payment. Hear the words. Shenjian looked as usual. He took out a thriller coin from his body again. Beggar ghost? The corner of his mouth twitched. Damn it! Isn't it that you can't understand human speech? I said I wanted a ghost body with a diameter of no less than 10 centimeters. What do you mean when you took out another thriller coin? Do you think that my information is worth 2 thriller coins? Who do you look down on? After all, I am also an abyss-level ghost king. Even if you go begging, you can earn thousands of horror coins in a minute. Brother, what do you mean? Do you not want to pay? The beggar ghost's tone was cold. Shenjian glanced at him, grinned and said, you understand, what I want to pay is not based on what you want, but based on what I have. 3, no more. Said. Shenjian took out another one. He looked like just have fun secretly. Beggar ghost? He stayed for a moment. God really depends on what you have. How can you be so confident? If you don't have any capital, can you not just join in the fun? Just like you, don't really marry the woman when the time comes, and you still need the woman to pay for whoring. He couldn't hold himself any longer. After taking several deep breaths, he resisted the urge to tear this piece of shit into pieces. With a dark face, he said sullenly, brother, you are breaking the rules of the bloody city. If I shout, you will be punished today. You absolutely can't escape from here, but I can give you a chance. If you join us and help us do something, the reward will be paid in full. Are you qualified to participate in the competition for marriage? Shenjian looked disgusted. Beggar ghost. A good while. He just reacted. Does this guy think it would be too shameful to join them? Damn it! How dare you, a hangman who only gave you 3 thriller coins as a reward, say such a thing? No matter how much we lose, it will still be better than yours. You think the eldest brother dislikes the second brother? Brother, you have to think clearly. You have no choice now. Moreover, our Black Dragon Association once firmly occupied the 2nd place in the bloody city. It is just that it has declined a little now. But when it comes to participating in the competition to recruit a bride, you are still eligible to register. Hear this. Shenjian looked up and down. The look of disgust in his eyes deepened. because he had actually heard of this force. The source of the news is naturally the glorious ghost. Before the appearance of the 100 Ghost Society and the Pavilion of Rebirth, the master of the bloody capital was the Yinshen Palace, and besides the Yinshen Palace, the second-ranked one was the Black Dragon Society. However, with the rise of other forces, the Black Dragon will be directly dispersed, and even its power cannot be preserved, disappearing in the bloody city. He did not expect that the beggar ghost in front of him, who was similar to the beggar's gang, would actually be a member of the Black Dragon Society. Too shabby. But Shen Jian then thought about it. What he needs now is to wait quietly for the martial arts competition to start, and let the two major forces, Beguihui and Shengsheng Pavilion, fight to lure out all Luo Fengtian's people related to the underworld. And if he wants to see all this up close, he really needs a force. He cannot be an unknown person, otherwise he may not receive first-hand information, but he cannot attract too much attention, otherwise it will be bad if something abnormal is detected. Look at it this way. The Black Dragon Society meets the requirements quite well. Think of this. Shen Jian's eyes were dark. The beggar ghost felt a chill at the sight. As if he was being targeted by some extremely terrifying existence, he shivered. Just thinking about it? Shen Jian had changed his previous dislike and hugged his neck very enthusiastically. Let's go, there is no golden nest or silver nest, so a doghouse is a doghouse. Beggar ghost. The kennel belongs to your uncle. Who are you scolding? Besides, I'm not familiar with you. Let me go. I can't breathe. Not long after, Shen Jian walked to the den with the beggar ghost in his arms. It was a slum, located in a remote corner of the bloody city. The streets are full of beggars in ragged clothes. Most of these ghosts have mutilated hands, amputated legs, blind eyes, or hollow bodies. The level of terror ranges from red level to abyss level Ghost King. Even Shen Jian also saw several top Ghost Kings without most of their bodies, living here in a hazy state. This kind of situation would never be seen by other Luo Fengtian. After all, the top Ghost King is already considered the overlord of one party. If placed in the game area of the horror world, he would be the first-class final boss. He is the master of a 4-star supernatural land or even a quasi 5-star supernatural land. It is impossible to be like this. But in the bloody city, this situation is real. And it's not uncommon. The beggar ghost said, this is the case for ghosts without power in the bloody city, because it is easy to hide from open attacks and difficult to prevent hidden arrows. Even ghosts cannot be on guard 24 hours a day, especially some supernatural attacks that are impossible to guard against. Only by joining forces can those attackers be afraid and not dare to take action easily. Given you the opportunity to join the Black Dragon Society, you are absolutely lucky, otherwise you wouldn't be able to survive a day here. Hear the words. Shen Jian said nothing. Of course he knows that there is no such thing as a pie in the sky. If the other party wants him to join the Black Dragon Club, there must be something dangerous that needs him to do. But, unfortunately, he also coveted the Black Dragon Society and wanted to take it for himself. Think of this. A penetrating smile appeared on Shen Jian's face. He couldn't wait to mingle with his former underworld. And ahead, the beggar ghost also showed a sinister smile. I deceived another scapegoat, so lucky. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 903. At this time, if outsiders saw it, they would find Shen Jian and the beggar ghost walking on the road showing a sinister smile at the same time. The former is excitement. I was excited to meet the former members of the underworld. The latter is also excited. Excitedly, he found another scapegoat. Not long after, the beggar ghost quickly brought Shenjian to his destination. An urban village that can only be reached through a long, dark alley. Log houses are mainstream architecture. In addition, there are many stone houses similar to Ziobi. Shenjian took a few glances. The living standard here is not high, which is equivalent to that of ancient towns. It is a completely different world from the bloody capital close to the Republic of China. But then I thought about it. Most of the people who can live here are poor ghosts who failed to compete in the bloody capital, or whose ghost bodies are mutilated. Being able to survive is already the biggest luxury hope. As for improving their living standards, that is a bit far away. What's more, for this group of evil ghosts, or existences close to evil ghosts, the environment is not something worth caring about. Arrive in front of a stone house. The beggar ghost stopped and said with a gloomy expression, "Brother, remember clearly, the person inside is the vice president of my Black Dragon Club branch. He will test you later. Only if you pass, will you be qualified to take the place. The Black Dragon Society, will complete the mission. If you fail and you cannot afford the reward, you should know the consequences. Speaking of which," his voice became cold and penetrating. He looked like he was watching a good show. "He brings a scapegoat here every day, but unfortunately, until now, no one has actually passed the test. He hopes Shenjian can succeed. Because success means that they are safe." Branch. Shenjian grasped the key words. The beggar ghost explained, "After a short period of decline, the Black Dragon Society has been split into 4 parts. Each part is responsible for a business. For example, our side specializes in collecting intelligence. The vice president is from our intelligence department. Principal. You need to get the approval of the vice president to be considered as having the ability to complete the task on behalf of the intelligence department. Otherwise, if you randomly send someone out, it will make people wonder whether our intelligence department has committed fraud and randomly found a scapegoat," said. The heavy stone house door was slowly pushed open. There was no light inside. Airtight. It looks exactly like the small dark room used to punish prisoners. Even worse. If a normal human being was imprisoned there, he would have a complete mental breakdown within a few days. But for some fierce ghosts, such an environment can be regarded as a kind of enjoyment. Your test is to use all your abilities in this dark environment to find the dead man in the stone house and uncover the truth about his death. Remember, you only have 1 day. When the time is up, whoever is in the stone house will be killed. You will be infected with the fatal supernatural curse. Although you will not die, you will not be able to survive in the bloody city." Hear the words. Shenjian glanced at it. On the face with clear features, there was a strange smile that did not fit his own image. It looked like he had seen something interesting. "Dead person? Let me see if it's a dead person. I'll know it as soon as I smell it," said. Shenjian walked in directly without any hesitation. "Beggar ghost. He can't fix it anymore. No. You are so excited to ride a horse. Understand that you only have 1 day, and if you don't do it, you will be infected with the supernatural curse, and your life will be worse than death. In this situation, shouldn't you be frightened, angry, unwilling, or even choose to run away? Your reaction makes me feel like my words were in vain. Very boring." For a while, the cold expression on the beggar ghost's face could no longer be maintained. Seeing Shenjian walking into the stone house automatically without any forced order from him, he couldn't help but feel an ominous premonition in his heart. Nothing else. It's really Shenjian's reaction that's so humming abnormal. He had brought so many unlucky people here to accept the test, and every one of them was either begging for mercy or frightened, but Shenjian looked more anxious than him. Those who didn't know, thought he had hidden some treasure inside. Something is wrong. This is very wrong. The beggar ghost became suspicious. But when I thought about it carefully, I felt that I had thought too much. Because the dead man in the stone house is actually the vice president of their intelligence department. This stone house has an empathic supernatural effect. Once you step into it, the supernatural power will automatically take effect, inflicting negative emotions such as timidity, cowardice, fear, etc. on the other person. Combined with the dark characteristics of the small dark room, it creates an absolutely terrifying environment. In this environment, people who enter the stone house will become sensitive, suspicious, fragile, and suffer all the time. The process of searching for the dead man is the beginning of torture. If this dead man could still move, the fear would be magnified to the limit in an instant. If you can persist without breaking down, you have reached the standard. Pity. So far, no one can satisfy the vice president. Although the man in front of him seems to have a strong psychological quality and is different from the unlucky guys in the past, as long as he enters the dark room, no matter how harsh his words are, his true colors will be revealed. Think of this. The beggar ghost felt relieved again. Watching Shen Jian walk in. At the same time, step into the small dark room. Shen Jian's expression remained unchanged, his deep black eyes scanning everything in the room. The stone house is simply furnished. A coffin bed, a painting, and an extinguished oil lamp. The only thing that can hide people is a coffin bed. Then, Shen Jian directly opened the bed board. Really? Under the bed, a body was lying inside. The skin of the corpse was gray, and there were traces of being eaten all over the body. The eyes were tightly closed, and there was no sense of violation at all. Shen Jian took a look twice. Pretending to breathe a sigh of relief, he said, "The baby was scared to death. Fortunately, it was really a dead person. Otherwise, when I sat down to rest, if a hand stretched out and put it on my shoulder, I would have been frightened to death." Hear this. The sight of the corpse, or rather the vice president of the intelligence section, suddenly lit up. There was a fleeting expression of sadness in the darkness. It turns out that this is what you fear most. Then I have to try this method. Just thinking about it? The vice president heard Shen Jian's change of topic again and said quietly, "No, I'm too scared. What if this dead person pretends to be a corpse? I have to test whether he is really dead." Vice President. You are so cautious. To this, he was not surprised. Because under extreme fear, the way a ghost can ensure a sense of security is that there are no living things around. He also encountered several suspicious ghosts checking whether he was really a dead person. This is not a big deal. Because the way to determine his death is simply to sense whether his yin-qi fluctuations are strong and whether his supernatural power has dissipated. On both of these points, the coffin bed can be disguised. Even if ghosts and gods come, it is impossible to see any flaws in him. Haha, young man, I didn't expect that. You are still too young. Laugh. The next second, a sharp pain swept through his body. The vice president's expression changed drastically. It was obvious that his thigh was pierced. There is no sound. Are you really dead? Hearing Shen Jian's voice, he was stunned. I'm your uncle. Are you sure whether I am dead or not, relying on this primitive and backward method? What about your psychic abilities? Won't you directly sense the fluctuations of yin-qi in my body when you are riding a horse? Wouldn't you directly check whether my supernatural aura has dissipated? You stabbed me in the leg without saying a word, you are such a meowing tiger. At this time, the vice president was distraught. He never imagined that in these days, there would be ghosts using such primitive methods to identify dead people. He thought of various ways to disguise himself. But I never thought that someone would dare to destroy the corpse directly. Your surname is Baya. Holding back the severe pain, the vice president gritted his teeth, preparing to give Shen Jian an unforgettable fearful experience later on. No, this is not safe enough. Let's just behead him. If he is beheaded, then he can be sure that he is really dead. At this time, in the dark, the faint voice sounded again. Vice President. His pupils widened. The eyes that were originally closed suddenly opened wide. He showed a panicked look. Nothing else. This scoundrel really dares to take action. If he continued to lie down, his head would really fall off. Wait. However, the words have not yet finished. A handful of ancient ghosts flashing with cold light had already come over. At once, a head rolled onto the coffin bed. The body that was about to stand up gradually fell down. It's a bastard that's motionless. It seems like this is indeed a corpse. Vice President. He stared with eyes wide open, as if he was determined to die. Especially when he heard Shen Jian's words when he was dying, he almost spit out blood. You really deserve to die. I, the dignified vice president of the Black Dragon Club branch, died here so hastily and for such a ridiculous reason. He could already predict that he would become the laughing stock of everyone. Tired? Destroy it? With this thought, the vice president closed his eyes and burped on the spot. The other side. Looking at the closed stone door. The beggar ghost is also ready to leave. He is also very busy at work and cannot stay here waiting for Shen Jian to come out. What's more, whether he can come out or not is a question. Sometimes, if the vice president gets excited about playing, it is normal for him to directly destroy the other party. Especially the tougher the mouth, the more fulfilling the game will be. The next second, there was a bang. The stone door was pushed open entirely. Shen Jian walked out. Beggar ghost? He was stunned. No. Why did you come out? Are you taking this out? If this was possible, it would be a test. Etc. Suddenly, the beggar ghost thought of a more serious problem. Once this stone house is closed, only the vice president can open it. How did this guy open the door? It's only been less than 5 minutes since we entered, right? Even if you and the vice president hit it off right away, you shouldn't have come out so quickly. What happened? Why did you come out? The beggar ghost's voice rose involuntarily. The whole person seemed to be frightened by something. Shen Jian shrugged, I have found the dead person and solved the truth. Why don't I come out and stay in there? The beggar ghost's eyes looked even more different. Did you find the vice president on horseback? Then it's even more impossible for you to come out so soon. But this cannot be said. Then, he said cautiously, you didn't encounter anything unusual inside? Shen Jian shook his head. Unwilling to give up, the beggar glanced at the small dark room and asked again, then tell me, how did that body die? He vaguely remembered that the vice president pretended to be dead because of suffocation. There was a sunken wound on the back of his head. He was knocked unconscious with an oil lamp and then suffocated with an oil painting. The reason why it is vague is because for so long, no one has been able to persist to this point. He has long forgotten the truth of the original setting. This is simple. His head was chopped off and he died on the spot. The time of death was 3:03 and 28 seconds in the afternoon. And the time of death, you are so humming professional. If I hadn't remembered the answer, I would have been fooled by your serious nonsense. He was decapitated, I'm afraid you didn't even see the body. The beggar ghost walks into the dark room. His expression became colder and colder. Brother, I don't know what method you used to open the door to the dark room, but your answer is so wrong. This corpse was obviously suffocated, damn it. For a moment, the beggar ghost was dumbfounded. Because when he walked to the coffin bed, What he saw was the body of the vice president separated, his head widened, and he looked like he was dead. Emma. This murder scene really looked like death caused by beheading. No professional appraisal is required, a layman can understand it. But who can tell him why the vice president died? Gan. What on earth is it? The beggar ghost stood beside the bed blankly. There was an expression of disbelief in his eyes. That expression simply said, "Where is the vice president? Where is the vice president who is as big as me? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace." Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 904. At this time, looking at the murder scene where the bodies were separated and a head stared with a dead look in its eyes, the beggar ghost was completely stupid. The vice president plays the dead man and then dies for real. Who can I talk to reason with this horse? That's outrageous. You know, as the head of the intelligence department of the Black Dragon Society, the vice president was one of the top figures even in the Black Dragon Society's heyday, possessing ghost-level strength. Even if he is dismembered and falls to the top level of the Ghost King, he is still not something that ordinary people can kill. Why is such a vice president acting for no reason? At once, the beggar ghost seemed to have thought of something. His eyes suddenly fell on Shenjian, and he hesitated. Are you sure this body is dead?" Shenjian smiled and said, "Didn't you say he was a dead person? I am timid, and I am most unaccustomed to having a complete life in a closed environment with me. In order to make sure that he was really dead, I directly chopped off his head. Guess what? What's wrong? That's a dead man." The corner of the beggar ghost's mouth twitched sharply. "You leave it here and leave it here." This time, he was finally sure. The vice president was killed by this damn guy. And he thought of a more serious problem. Although the vice president's terror level has fallen to the top Ghost King, he is still an existence that is infinitely close to ghosts and gods. Even if he is careless, he cannot be careless enough to let the other party cut off his head. This shows that the smiling man in front of him with a kind face is terrifying enough to crush the top Ghost King, and he is probably a real ghost god. Think of this. The beggar ghost wants to cry but has no tears. Who would have thought that the unlucky guy he stopped would turn out to be a terrifying ghost? What's even more frightening is that the other person just said that he is timid and hates having people stay with him in an airtight environment. He looked around a few times. Inside the small dark room, apart from the vice president's body, he and Shenjian were the only ones left. Perfectly in line with the other party's rules for killing people. Grass. I'm a very timid person, don't scare me. For a while, the beggar ghost knelt down. Brother, I was wrong. I have an 80-year-old mother and a 3-year-old child. Please spare my life. The cry is miserable. The main thing is a person who can bend and stretch. Without this skill, in this bloody city that eats people without spitting out their bones, he, an abyss-level Ghost King, would not have his current status and stable life. See this? There was a bit of disgust in Shenjian's eyes. He waved his hands and said, okay, call your vice president out. I have something to talk to him about. Beggar ghost. He looked up with complicated eyes. Damn it. It turns out you didn't know that was the vice president. The vice president's death was too hasty. I'm afraid he won't know until his death that others didn't know him at all. I am afraid that even if I die, I will have to get up from hell and curse. Then he pointed at the vice president's dead head. This time, Shenjian was also slightly startled. The contempt in his eyes deepened. Don't learn to do acrobatics like others if you don't have some skills. You might get good at it one day. He cursed. Unexpectedly, this corpse turned out to be the vice president of the Black Dragon Society. A being who was not even a ghost or god could become the second in command. One can imagine how bad the situation of the Black Dragon Society is. But soon, Shen Jian regained his composure. After all, he originally planned to send the vice president on his way so that he could actually take control of this place. Now it's just a mistake. The purpose was achieved. I am the master here now, do you have any objections? Shen Jian glanced at the kneeling beggar ghost, and the old god said. No, no. The beggar ghost shook his head like a rattle. How dare you say no? Afraid that the other party would be dissatisfied, he would be killed too, his head cut off, and he would be paired together. That would be such an injustice. You said before that the Black Dragon Club is also qualified to sign up for the martial arts contest to recruit a bride. Does this refer to a pure intelligence department, or does it require the 4 major branches to be integrated into one? Tell them all together. Hear this. A lot of cold sweat broke out on the beggar ghost's back. Because Shen Jian's words were clearly telling him, I know you lied to me, and I also know there is something fishy in it. If you tell me, you can live. Brother, what I said is indeed not accurate enough. The invitations to the martial arts tournament are all first-class forces. There must be at least 3 ghosts and gods sitting in order to meet the standards. Although our Black Dragon Club has 3 ghosts and gods, which meets the registration standards, in fact, unless our 4 major branches merge into one, we will not be qualified. He explained in a low voice. Sincerely terrified. Shen Jian was thoughtful. Is there anyone who doesn't want to cooperate? Yes, among the 4 parts of the Black Dragon Society, in addition to our intelligence department, there are also the war department, the logistics department, and the mobility department. Among them, the logistics department is obviously opposed to the Black Dragon Society's comeback, while the war department advocates a comeback. Our intelligence department, the department and the mobility department maintained a neutral opinion, so it was just wasted. Brother, if you want to qualify for the martial arts tournament, the current Black Dragon Club cannot satisfy you. You need to unite the 4 branches into one. Hear the words. Shen Jian said nothing. The atmosphere is getting heavier and heavier. The beggar ghost lowered his head. Almost crying. Brother, I called you big brother, don't say anything, I'm afraid. You can at least say something and let me know your reaction. Is it better to choose between kneeling and licking or kneeling and licking? Little did I know. At this time, Shen Jian was staring at the game panel. Random mission triggered. Random mission, integrate the Black Dragon Society. Content, Kuajianglang, the bloody capital of the past, has now declined. By integrating the 4 major branches, it can be rejuvenated, come back, and announce its comeback strongly. Task tip, hey, don't underestimate us, black dragons are also dragons. Note, due to illegal operation by the player, there is no reward for this random task. Note, due to illegal operations by players, the current difficulty level far exceeds the player level limit and cannot be changed. It has been forcibly turned on. He was secretly speechless. Just by talking about this aspect with an unrelated being, the random mission was triggered directly. This is clearly trying to get the players to die and leave no room for negotiation. Even though it was Luo Fengtian who entered the 5th place after illegal operation, such treatment was still too unusual. After all, after players enter the horror world, random tasks will be triggered from time to time, but they are never triggered for no reason. They must be affected before the task mechanism is triggered. But he just chatted for a few words, and random tasks fell on him unreasonably. If the first triggering of the random mission could be seen as a coincidence, then the second time, the purpose was too obvious. Is the Buddhist country causing trouble again? Or is the horror game Xiao Baichi causing trouble again? And if it's the former, how did the other party do it? Have control over the mission mechanics of a thriller game. Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. I had some guesses in my mind. There was a somewhat dangerous look on his face. Previously, because there is no trace of the fourth Luo Fengtian, the Buddha's kingdom, anywhere, he has no way to deal with the other party's little actions. But now, he has the ghost Buddha lamp and the white bone Bodhisattva, a world-destroying figure. Ghosts and gods guide the way, and it is completely easy to enter the Buddhist kingdom. He wanted to know how wonderful the expressions of these little losers were when he appeared in the Buddhist kingdom. Moment. Shen Jian suppressed his thoughts. He returned his attention to the beggar ghost. The Buddhist kingdom is going, but the bloody capital of Luo Fengtian in the fifth place cannot be left alone. After all, Luo Fengtian's authority here and the suspected traces of Po Meng are his main targets. Especially Meng Po Tang, which is related to the unlocking of the last 6 paths of reincarnation, is undoubtedly the top priority at the moment. Immediately, Shen Jian said in a faint tone, "Where are the people from the other 3 departments?" Hear this. The beggar ghost trembled all over. Is this a plan to integrate the 4 major branches and make the Black Dragon Society come back again? Is it possible that you really want to participate in the competition and marry a bride? No, no, no. The reasons shouldn't be that superficial. Anyone who lives in the Bloody City knows that the 100 Ghosts Association has bad intentions in planning this martial arts contest to recruit a bride. It is very likely that they are fishing, and they are fishing for the overlord forces such as the Rebirth Pavilion and the Yinshan Palace. And the bride is a real world-destroying ghost and god. Even if you win the first place, what's the use? Do you dare to break off the shackles and consummate the marriage? If you don't dare, what's the difference between displaying a moving doll? They have to be worshipped like ancestors. If one day the other party breaks free from their restraints, they will have to face the wrath of a world-destroying ghost and god. Not only the individual, but also the entire force will be annihilated. Destroyed. 100 harms and no benefit. Those with a low level of terror are not eligible to participate. Those with a high level of terror basically belong to the 3 major overlord level forces, and they all know their own goals, and they basically don't take the theme of contests to recruit brides to heart. The only people who really care about it are some confused ghosts who don't know the truth and live in a deserted land. In his opinion, Shen Jian's purpose should not be the bride, but to profit from this melee. Figure this out. The beggar ghost narrated, "They are all nearby, Big Brother. The vice president of our intelligence department was originally a ghost, but for some reason he was dismembered to the horror level and fell to the top ghost king. The vice presidents of the other 3 major branches did not have this in this situation. You still maintain the strength of ghosts and gods. If you want to get their support, you need to do what they want." Shen Jian waved his hand, interrupted the other party's tirade, and grinned, supporting others. "I only know that those who follow me will prosper, and those who go against me will perish." End of this chapter. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 905. On the dimly lit urban village path. A person and a ghost are walking in the dark night, and the surroundings are completely silent, which seems strange and penetrating. Shen Jian glanced away. It's 1 o'clock midnight. The time for the marriage competition is tomorrow. According to the characteristics of ghosts, midnight should be the carnival of ghosts and the beginning of nightlife. But this situation does not apply to Luo Fengtian's bloody capital in the 5th place. Except for the 2 rustling people in the entire city village, there is no trace of any pedestrians. Even in the real world, it would not be so dead. The beggar ghost explained in time, "Brother, there is an unwritten rule in the bloody city. Anyone who dares to walk outside after 12 o'clock in the middle of the night is a killer by default. This type of ghost specializes in killing people for fun and is a complete lunatic. They kill for no other reason than to vent their murderous nature and cannot control themselves. Because of this, if they see wandering ghosts wandering around their city at midnight, some ghosts will unite with others to kill them, reducing the number of ghosts that they kill. There is a possibility of being attacked while sleeping. While talking, he looked around nervously. He was always ready to reveal his identity as a member of the Black Dragon Society's intelligence section to prevent him from being regarded as a murderer. Walked a while. This is already located at the end of the village in the city. There is only a long and narrow road around it, and it is surrounded by old and dilapidated two-story houses. Every door has a talisman-like talisman paper posted on it. The talisman paper is full of densely packed supernatural writings. It lets people know at a glance that there is someone in the house, and it also has a warning effect. The beggar ghost spoke again, "Brother, this is the territory of the Black Dragon Society. Except for our intelligence department, which needs to live at the head of the village due to its special nature, the combat department, logistics department, and mobility department all live at the end of the village. According to our intelligence, there are more than 200 people in the three branches. Adding the members of the intelligence section scattered in the Bloody City, the entire Black Dragon Society has about 240 members. Except for the three vice presidents who are ghosts and gods, among the remaining personnel, there are 6 top ghost kings, 30 abyss-level ghost kings, and the rest are all ghost kings. Beggars and ghosts are like treasures. The specific data of the Black Dragon Society were told one by one. In the intelligence department, he is not an unknown person. Apart from the top ghost king, the vice president, he has the highest status. Naturally, he also knows a lot about the Black Dragon Society's information. Finished. He glanced at Shen Jian cautiously. Only half of the ghost's face was left, full of hesitation and melancholy. In fact, he didn't know much about Shen Jian's strength. He only knew that this man killed the vice president of their intelligence department, but he didn't know the specific means used. We can only speculate that Shen Jian is at least a ghost. But the other 3 branches of the Black Dragon Society are not easy to mess with either. Needless to say, there are 3 ghost-level vice presidents. Even if it is just the remaining members of the Black Dragon Guild who are surrounded and killed, they are enough to compete with one ghost and god in a short time. He really didn't know where Shen Jian got the confidence to break into the Black Dragon Society's territory single-handedly like this. Obviously he has better countermeasures to instigate rebellion against the vice presidents of the 3 major branches. Think of this. He wanted to cry but had no tears. This kind of powerlessness that he knew the road ahead was dark, but still had to step in, made his mentality collapse. If he hadn't known that if he turned around now, Shen Jian would kill him cleanly, his legs would have been too weak to leave. He must have been unlucky for several lifetimes to encounter such bad things. Just when the beggar ghost thought this and felt that he was already frightened enough, the next second, he saw a scene that made his scalp numb even more. I saw Shen Jian taking out a gong and a soul-killing hammer from his body while walking, and then a sharp knock. Bang. The clear and powerful loud noise spread throughout the entire village. An extremely terrifying supernatural wave spread in all directions. The huge movement woke up all the sleeping Black Dragon Club members. Before they could react, they heard a strong voice coming from outside, "Wake up, wake up. The ghosts haven't figured out the situation yet." His eyes are still focused. Nothing else. The sound of the gong was so deafening that their supernatural powers almost disappeared, and it took them a long time to recover. He shouted, "What happened? A murderer came in? Are these lunatics crazy? I wonder how many families there are here." The next second, the energetic voice from before came again, "It's already 1 o'clock at midnight, it's time to go to bed," said. Shen Jian raised his head. Seeing a ghost leaning out from the second-floor window, ready to jump down, he immediately shouted at the top of his lungs, "Everyone, please wake up. It's time to go to bed." Don't mess around in the middle of the night. Black Dragon Club member. The ghosts were stunned. Even the few members of the combat section who had finished cleaning up as soon as possible and were about to jump out of the window to support were dumbfounded. A confused look on his face that said, "You're kidding me by riding a horse. Damn it. God, please wake up, it's time to sleep. You are the devil." We were sleeping soundly and had already dreamed that we had become the masters of the bloody city and were ready to intervene in the female ghost's life. But the sound of a gong woke us all up. If this was something serious, we would tolerate it. But your special purpose is to wake us up and tell us that it's time to sleep? There's something wrong with you. At once. A group of fierce ghosts from the combat department couldn't bear it anymore. They are the most elite force of the Black Dragon Society, and every level of terror is not lower than the Abyss level. He is very murderous and has a violent temper, which can easily ignite at a moment's notice. Now that they were being tortured by Shen Jian, their faces were even uglier than after eating Lao Ba's secret burgers. The grimaces screamed. "You deserve to die when you step on a horse. Mad, tear his mouth off. You'll die." 4 or 5 Abyss-level Ghost Kings jumped out of the second-floor window and rushed toward Shen Jian. This scene. The beggar ghost who was still in a dazed state was frightened. All the souls of the dead are gone. His face was almost turning green. This damn thing has offended the public. "Brother, I called you brother, what on earth are you doing? Is there any benefit for you to offend your team to death now? If all of them counterattack you, what's the point of integrating the Black Dragon Society? He who wins the hearts of the people wins the world. This is something that even a 3-year-old child understands, don't you know?" A series of question marks appeared in the beggar ghost's mind. He found that he didn't understand Shen Jian's brain circuit at all. At the same time, looking at the angry scene of this group of heroes and the several Abyss-level Ghost Kings who had already rushed down, Shen Jian said sadly, "I kindly reminded you to sleep, but you don't appreciate it, so forget it, but you actually want to kill me, and you treat your kindness like a donkey's liver and lungs. They are just a bunch of white-eyed wolves." Said. The soul-suppressing hammer in his hand struck the gong body again. This time, the supernatural shock reaction is even stronger. Invisible sound waves stirred. Resounded in the ears of the ghosts. Boom. 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 Several sounds sounded like dumplings being dropped. The several Abyss-level Ghost Kings who originally came to kill them with ferocious faces fell into a deep sleep without any resistance in front of the sound of gongs. It fell freely from mid-air and smashed down. Instantly. The whole place was silent. The ghosts opened their mouths wide. A look of disbelief. Is this the group's demise? Who is this bitch? Those who dare to appear in their Black Dragon Club territory like this should be their talents. But they searched their memories and found nothing that matched. Killer? Wrong. If this was the killer, he would have really been kicked in the head by a donkey. After all, which good person would go out of his way to wake them up before killing someone? This is more like a bad taste of the other party. To put it mildly, the other party was playing a trick on them. Just thinking about it? The voice below sounded again, "Okay, the white-eyed wolf has been dealt with. You should quickly put down what you are doing and go to bed when you need to." At this time, all the ghosts felt toothache. If it hadn't been for your annoying interruption, why would we have woken up? Especially the sound of your gong is too disturbing to the people. This is a destructive thing. Just hearing it makes them no longer sleepy and very energetic. Don't talk about continuing to sleep now, I'm afraid I won't be able to sleep for the next 3 days. Scared. Think of this. Their faces turned completely dark. Everyone stared at Shen Jian with resentful eyes. In the darkness, dozens of ghost eyes looked at each other. The psychological pressure caused the beggar to break out in a cold sweat. Chills ran down my spine. I was afraid that this group of ghosts would be too hasty and attack again. Subsequently, he subconsciously looked at Shen Jian. His lips twitched, and he was about to ask Shen Jian to calm down and stop pissing off these people, otherwise there would be no good in the future. Unfortunately, his words were a bit slow. Shen Jian had already spoken first, grinning and cursing, "It's past bedtime, why don't you go to bed yet? If you stay up so late, do you want to get up secretly in the middle of the night and be a killer? You deserve to die." Beggar ghost? Black Dragon Club member? Grass. You're pretty good at rake when you step on a horse. Don't we want to sleep? We can't even calm down our yin qi now, and our supernatural reactions are still fluctuating violently and very unstable. Who gave us all this? It's not like you are such a fool. It would be better for you to start talking nonsense seriously. At this time, the back molars of all the members of the Black Dragon Guild were almost broken. We sleep in the house and you walk outside in the middle of the night. Which one of us is more like the killer? However, before they could speak, Shen Jian had already raised the soul-suppressing gong again, holding the soul-suppressing hammer in his left hand, and struck it hard. A more violent gong sound suddenly exploded. Just for a moment. No matter it was the top Ghost King, the Abyss-level Ghost King, or the Ghost King, at the first second when the gong sounded, his whole body was shaken, his pupils were blurred, and then he fell straight down. This time, not only their supernatural fluctuations were shattered, but their consciousness was also shattered. Do it all. Shen Jian took back the crime tool in his hand. His eyes were filled with a simple look that said, "Today is another day to do good deeds." Beggar ghost. He was dumbfounded. What are you doing? What are you doing with all these people? You're such a humming bastard. Brother, these people are your future team members. Why did you kill them? The beggar ghost trembled and stood tall. Nothing can be said. After all, Shen Jian's current performance is too cruel. At first glance, he looks like a devil with such a bad personality that he can kill a ghost anytime and anywhere for fun. He was afraid that if he said something wrong, he would be dismissed like this. Shen Jian glanced at him and said with a malicious smile, "You may have guessed something wrong. All I need is the registration quota for the Black Dragon Club. I don't need the so-called team. On the contrary, these people will be instigated later if you attack me, it's normal for me to strike first." The beggar ghost opened his mouth wide. Just because of a probability event that may happen in the future, you take action first? This is too childish. Couldn't it be that this group of Black Dragon Club members saw that you could lead the Black Dragon Club to become bigger and stronger, so they were subdued by you and stood in the same lineup as you? You really only see what's good for you and don't want any disadvantages, right? And you don't need a team, just be a cheerleader. To this, Shen Jian just said, "Are you teaching me how to do things?" Beggar ghost. 6. He kind of knew. This is an authoritarian tyrant. Still has an extremely bad personality. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 906. This time, after knowing Shen Jian's character, the beggar ghost no longer dared to speak, and he mainly looked like a bitch. The saddle is in front of the horse and the horse is behind. The attitude was extremely respectful. He didn't even look at his former partner who fell straight behind him and fell into a deep sleep. He didn't even dare to express the slightest concern, for fear that if he were not careful, Shen Jian would be accused of being a compatriot. The guilt is not the biggest problem. He was just afraid that if Shen Jian was unhappy, he would just use this crime to kill him. This may sound a bit ridiculous. No one would choose the ghost around them just because they value love and justice. But he was too scared to gamble. Especially since he has already witnessed the scene where Shen Jian killed all the members of the Black Dragon Society for such ridiculous reasons. What would he do if Shen Jian said, "The love between compatriots is so deep, and it seems that he has evil intentions towards me and wants to take advantage of the opportunity to take revenge"? There was nothing he could do. So the most correct thing to do is to be a loser wholeheartedly. There is still a chance of survival. What's more, he also saw Shen Jian's performance just now. In addition to his bad behavior of beating people up and playing tricks, the methods Shen Jian showed also shocked him. Only 3 gongs were struck in the whole process, and the entire Black Dragon Society members were wiped out. You know, some of them were no less than the vice president of their intelligence department. But even so, it was still solved by a gong. He saw it very clearly. Shen Jianquan seemed to have struck the gong 3 times, but in fact the first and second were just appetizers, more dramatic than the others. Only the last was the real supernatural attack. It was also the last blow that killed more than 200 members of the Black Dragon Society in an instant, causing the group to be wiped out. Such strength cannot be achieved by ordinary ghosts and gods. Even the Black Dragon Society's most terrifying combat section vice president can only kill everyone, but cannot annihilate the whole group in an instant. The two seem to mean the same thing, but the actual difference is huge. The beggar ghost knew that he had far underestimated this man's strength. The opponent's level of terror must be as simple as a ghost or a god. Think about it this way. His kneeling and licking behavior became more and more obvious. One moment he cheered, "Brother is awesome," and the other moment he said sadly, "I'm not familiar with the Black Dragon Society." That look fully demonstrated the image that a senior licker should have. At the same time, the beggar ghost also does not forget to show his commercial value. "Brother, the vice presidents of the 3 major branches should be asleep at this time. In that case, they will be awakened when they hear the sound of the gong and join the battlefield." But now none of them have appeared, which means that they are hiding inside the multi-layered ghost realm. I guess that at this time, the 3 vice presidents were tasting the potion of drunkenness, dreams, and death to eliminate their own grievances, and that's why they didn't hear anything. Shen Jian paused. The potion of drunk life and dreams of death is a special product of Luo Feng genius in the 5th place. It is a product of the Pavilion of Rebirth, one of the 3 overlord forces in the Bloody City. It has the supernatural effect of eliminating the resentment of evil ghosts, purifying the soul, and preventing them from turning into evil ghosts. And because drinking the potion will produce all kinds of complicated thoughts, making people immerse themselves in it, linger, and forget everything, it is called the potion of drunkenness, dreams, and death. The reason why Shen Jian pays attention to this is because its effect is suspected to be a weakened version of Meng Po Tang. More importantly, Po Meng is suspected to be in the 5th place, Luo Feng Tian. Under such circumstances, a supernatural potion that had the effect of a low-quality Menpo soup naturally came into his sight. His eyes were dark. The condition for unlocking the heavenly way, one of the 6 paths of reincarnation, is to let the dead souls enter reincarnation and allow the underworld to completely reappear in the human world. Among them, currently, the only things missing are the 3 life stones and Meng Po Tang. He has found clear clues about the former. The latter is still uncertain information. Now, he came in person to confirm the authenticity of the information. Complete one of the links. If that didn't work, he would rather overturn the place and find out the whereabouts of Po Meng. Think of this. Shen Jian continued to move. Soon, a layer of ripples appeared. While passing through the end of the village, the original shabby environment suddenly changed and turned into a glorious attic. The mountains are high and the water is beautiful. The attic stands ghostly. There was a faint sound of ghostly howling. The beggar ghost explained with some emotion, "Brother, this is the former site of the Black Dragon Society. Now it has been divided up by the Pavilion of Purity and has become its territory. I didn't expect that the Vice President and the others would use the ghost domain to recreate all of this. They must still be thinking about the glorious history of the Black Dragon Society." Shen Jian was not interested. A quick glance. His eyes quickly focused on one of the attics. He showed a little more interest and grinned, "Found it?" Inside the palatial center loft, 3 figures were lying on their backs on the seats, looking contented, as if they were puffing away clouds. A burly iron-armed ghost with a left arm that was obviously larger than his right arm looked at the ceiling and said with a relaxed expression, "This potion of drunkenness, dreams, and death is indeed a divine thing. I have killed a lot of ghosts these days, and I feel a little resentful I am no longer in control. After drinking this potion, most of my resentment will dissipate and I will feel comfortable." He is the Vice President of the Black Dragon Society's Combat Department. Although the Black Dragon Society has not come back, relying on the terrifying strength of ghosts and gods, he can still be regarded as a leader in the Bloody City. I don't know how many low-level ghosts living here have been killed. It shattered their hope of survival. Therefore, every time he killed a ghost, the resentment on his body became heavier. The resentment on his body is almost substantive. It is infinitely close to the real evil ghost. If it weren't for the potion of drunkenness and dreams, sooner or later within a month, he would have become a lunatic who couldn't tell the difference between friend and foe. It's a pity that this supernatural potion is produced by the Rebirth Pavilion and cannot be snatched. And each force can only get 1 per month, otherwise no matter what, you will get it. The other half-closed eye, the dark ghost eyes full of calculations, the conspiracy ghost took up the words of the iron-armed ghost. He is the Vice President of the Mobility Department. The organization was arrayed by the Black Dragon Society. Known for his yin AO and his plans for yin damage. Even if we want to grab it, it's not our turn. Are the 100 Demons Association and the Yin Shen Palace just free food? Believe it or not, as soon as we have this idea, the Yin Shen Palace will give us a thunderous blow and completely eliminate us in the bloody capital. The last person to speak was the Vice President of the Logistics Department. He is short in stature, looks very old-fashioned, and looks very thin. I still cough a few times from time to time. You are just too timid. The Yin Shen Palace is nothing. If the president hadn't offended the pavilion master of the Rebirth Pavilion and was hit by the dimensionality reduction, I don't know if the Yin Shen Palace would have been able to take the 3rd place. The iron-armed ghost snorted disdainfully. His tone was full of dissatisfaction. But the problem now is that Yin Shen Palace is firmly in the 3rd place, and we can only split it into 4 parts and live in the most inconspicuous location. All members don't even have 300. The thin ghost replied. You. The iron-armed ghost was about to go berserk, but the Vice President of the Mobility Department, the conspiracy ghost, had already spoken to stop him. Calm down. The potion of drunk life and dreams of death has taken effect. When the consciousness is in a trance, the boundary between virtuality and reality will become weaker, making it difficult for us to distinguish reality. If you keep arguing, can you tell whether you are talking or whether you are talking nonsense in your dream? Hear this. The attic fell silent. Neither of them spoke anymore. Immerse yourself wholeheartedly in the washing and forget all the troubles. At this time. Tap tap tap. The sound of footsteps echoed slowly from far to near. The 3 of them opened their eyes suddenly. They are all ghosts and gods, and they are extremely keen in supernatural perception. But just now I didn't notice any supernatural fluctuations. If it hadn't been for the sound coming, they wouldn't have known that an uninvited guest had broken into the ghost realm. This situation is simply impossible. No one can come in quietly in front of these three ghosts and gods. Then a thought came into the minds of the three of them at the same time. This time the dream was more real than before. Just thinking about it, the thin guy farthest from the door, the vice president of the logistics department, happened to see a figure walking in. A handsome man with a blood-stained hemp rope tied around his wrist. His personal characteristics are very distinctive. There was some confusion on the face of the thin ghost. Who is this person? The drunk life and dream death potion can make the user forget everything in his dream and immerse himself in the most beautiful fantasy, but this has a premise, that is, the content of the dream is based on his own memory. But he clearly didn't recognize this man now. What's going on with this horse riding? Why did I imagine such a man entering my dream? Last second. The thin ghost is still wondering if his orientation is abnormal. The next second, he was stunned. I saw the man grinning, taking out a blood-stained scalpel from his body, and then came to behind the iron-armed ghost sinisterly, stretched out his big hand, and with one stroke, he cut the iron in front of the three people. The arm ghost's throat was slit. In an instant, ghost blood sprayed out. The smelly blood even splashed onto the face of the thin ghost farthest away. This time, he was completely confused. Damn it! Damn it! I know why I don't know this man. Dare I subconsciously feel that you can't use an acquaintance to assassinate the iron-armed ghost, so I imagined a completely strange man. And his sweet dream is to watch the iron-armed ghost die. I see. This moment, the thin ghost's eyes were in a trance. It turns out that in my subconscious, I wanted the iron-armed ghost to die. I think so. I turn out to be a person who is determined to retaliate against others. He fell into deep self-doubt. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 907. This moment, there was a deathly silence in the attic. The thin ghost even had a spiritual storm in his mind. He never expected that in his heart he actually wanted the iron-armed ghost to die. Is this the deepest dark thought in his heart that even he doesn't know about? Think of this. As the vice president of the logistics department, the thin ghost face fell into deep self-doubt. Because the potion of drunkenness, dreams, and death took effect, he had regarded all of this as a beautiful dream, and the scenes that appeared in the dream were all the deepest ambitions hidden in his heart. Those natures that need to be disguised in daily life will be magnified to the maximum extent under the influence of supernatural medicine, amplifying the evil in one's heart. But if you don't have similar ideas on a daily basis and plan to implement them, they won't show up in your subconscious mind. In other words, he could see the iron-armed ghost's throat being cut, which proved that he subconsciously wanted to see the iron-armed ghost being killed. Such thoughts, how could he not start to doubt his life? After all, although he doesn't deal with the iron-armed ghost, the general direction is still for the development of the Black Dragon Society, but the stance is different. In his opinion, he has never had such an idea. At the same time, also beginning to doubt life was the conspirator, the vice president of the mobile department, sitting in the middle. There was a hint of horror in his pair of dark pupils, which had no whites and no whites. What did he see? A completely strange man took out a scalpel and wiped the iron-armed ghost's neck with a GGG weird smile. Is this his dream? What a joke. How could he possibly want to see the iron-armed ghost die? It is true that when the iron-armed ghost and the slender ghost were arguing, he did get angry and deepen the conflict between the two, but that was just a mentality of watching a good show. If the two of them were going to fight each other, he would be the first to stop them. Especially the iron-armed ghost, as the vice president of the combat department, has the highest level of terror among their 4 vice presidents. Although it has not yet approached the threshold of world-destroying ghosts and gods, it is undoubtedly one of them in the ranks of ghosts and gods. Outstanding. The current Black Dragon society cannot do without each other. But what did he see so strangely? In his dream, the iron-armed ghost was captured. Does he have such thoughts? The conspirator fell into deep suspicion. He knew that he was not a good person, and he also knew that his heart was dark and despicable, but he never thought that he would be so dark. It seems he never faced up to the deepest evil in his heart. For a while, whether it was a weak man or a conspiracy man, his heart began to turn upside down. At the same time, it wasn't until his neck was wiped and the ghost's blood was sprayed out as if it was free of money that the iron-armed ghost finally reacted and his expression changed drastically. Mad. This was not the effect of the potion, but his throat was actually cut in reality. Otherwise, how could the pain be so intense? To know. In the past, when he was immersed in dreams, although he had the pleasure of killing people in his dreams, most of the time it was him who killed people, and there was no reason for others to kill him. Who dreams about seeing themselves being tortured? Therefore, only then did the iron-armed ghost react, and there was a man named Lou who sneaked up on him. Who? At once, the iron-armed ghost stood up suddenly. A rough grimace became extremely sinister and ferocious. A supernatural threat at the level of ghosts and gods suddenly swept across the entire place. He covered his neck and glanced around the attic with dizzy eyes. The intense pain made him even more irritable. This time, it also made the conspiracy ghost and the thing ghost shrink their pupils. The two looked at each other. They all saw the shock in each other's eyes. Isn't this their dream? Is this true? Who has the guts to commit murder in front of these three ghosts and gods? Don't want to die? Come out, I know you are here. If you dare to wipe my neck, you deserve to die. The iron-armed ghost was still furious. Hateful appearance. His eyes scanned the empty attic, and then his eyes suddenly fell on the conspiracy ghost and the thing ghost. The ghost's eyes are full of scarlet. A fierce look that chooses and devours people. Calm down. The conspiracy ghost stood up first and stretched out his hand to signal the iron-armed ghost to calm down. His face was extremely serious. The other party was able to walk into the ghost realm without the three ghosts and gods being aware of it, and they could not see any traces. It can be imagined that it is definitely not a good thing. The immediate priority. It is to investigate the clues as soon as possible. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he realized something was wrong. Because he saw that the iron-armed ghost and the thing ghost were looking at him with a somewhat different look in their eyes. The conspiracy ghost was stunned. His eyes followed. I saw a scalpel stained with blood in my hand. That way was clearly the one used to slit the throat of the iron-armed ghost. Conspirator? He was confused. His eyes almost popped out of his head. Damn it! When did he get this murder weapon? Who is setting him up? For a while, the conspirator's thoughts became disordered. The scalpel in his hand also fell down, making a crisp clang sound. See this? The murderous look in the iron-armed ghost's eyes deepened. Suddenly he said, "It's you, it turns out to be you. Let me tell you, except for a few world-destroying ghosts and gods in this bloody city, how could anyone break in under the noses of the three of us? But if the murderer was originally between the three of us, it makes more sense to cause this situation. You want to kill me?" Finished. The iron-armed ghost showed a determined expression. He has never been as sharp and insightful as he is now. This feeling is so good. It turns out that having wisdom is such a fulfilling thing. Conspirator. Slender ghost. Hear this. Both of them were startled. The conspirator has an expression that is incomprehensible. The thing ghost was shocked and confused. Because he discovered that what the iron-armed ghost said made sense. This ghost realm was constructed by the joint efforts of their three ghosts and gods. Anyone who enters it will leave his own supernatural fluctuations, but just now he didn't notice a trace of supernatural aura at all. As the iron-armed ghost said, the only ones who can do this are the president of the 100 Ghosts Association and the two masters of the Pavilion of Rebirth are world-destroying ghosts and gods. But what is the current Black Dragon Society worth worrying about? Rule this out. The remaining answer may be correct no matter how absurd it is. Certainly. The reason why he was not 100% sure of this answer was because he had seen that the man who cut his throat was not a conspirator, but a complete stranger. Could there be some hidden secret in this? Think of this. The Thing Ghost quickly reconciled and looked at the iron-armed ghost. There must be a misunderstanding. Think about it, if the conspiracy ghost really wanted to kill you, how could he be so casual? The iron-armed ghost said abruptly, "What do you want to do with your hands behind your back?" Hear the words. The Thing Ghost showed a bit of helplessness on his face. This is too urgent. He always likes to speak with his hands behind his back, and the iron-armed ghost is not unaware of this habit. At this point, he shouldn't be trusted. In this case, let's prove ourselves harmless first. Then, he lowered his hand. The moment he put it down, he suddenly realized that he was holding something in his hand. Like a knife hilt. He had an unknown premonition in his heart. He looked down with a stiff expression. He saw that he was holding a bloody kitchen knife in his right hand. Gan. Whoever steps on the horse is also framing me. This moment. The Thing Ghost panicked. His whole body was filled with excitement. There is a ghost in this attic. He could be sure that there was nothing in his hand just now. But the moment he put it down, the kitchen knife was inexplicably held in his hand. It feels like there is an invisible third party on the field, watching the whole process and dominating it all. The purpose is to make them kill each other. Got this? He felt a chill in his heart. I just felt a chill going straight up to Tianling Gai. Let him feel cold all over. Wait, I can explain. The Thing Ghost turned pale and was ready to explain. Unfortunately, the iron-armed ghost no longer wanted to hear it. His eyes were wise, as if he had already understood the truth, and his tone became more serious, as expected. When I was wiped off my neck just now, you could see your position most clearly. It is impossible for you not to see the murderer, but you did not remind me at all. But watching my throat being cut, and knowing that the matter was exposed, you seemed to be trying to break up the fight, but in fact you wanted to break my guard so you could take the opportunity to stab me and join forces with the ghosts to kill me. Haha, your trick has failed. Now, it's my turn to kill you. The iron-armed ghost's smile became distorted. The overwhelming resentment spread. He raised the serrated sword in his hand. Since when did he have a weapon in his hand? Forget it, never mind, kill the two people on the opposite side first. Immediately. He rushed forward. The serrated sword in his hand was wielded extremely ferociously. Even if it is hit by a chop, it will be directly dismembered. See it? The conspirator's thin face turned green. You want to say something, but in this case, the ghost with the iron arm will listen. Not to mention that the other party has been filled with resentment and his thinking has been affected. The only way now is to suppress the other party first and then consider other things. Otherwise they will definitely be hacked to death. The next second, the Thing Ghost held the kitchen knife tightly, and the conspiracy ghost also picked up the scalpel. There was a bit of coldness on the ghost's face, and he also pounced on it. For a long time, the attic fell into dead silence again. Ghost blood flowed throughout the room. Center of the room. 3 figures with severed legs were lying in a pool of blood. 2 of the arms of the iron-armed ghost were dismembered, and 1 leg was also lying on the side. Half of the conspiracy ghost's body was split open, and he was only a few centimeters away from splitting in half. The Thing Ghost was equally miserable. He was cut off at the waist, leaving only his eyeballs still moving. The 3 people's supernatural fluctuations were rare. Extremely weak. It was just one step away from death. Who are you? Just watch from here, come out. The conspirator remained motionless, with only his lips moving, but the words he spoke still attracted the attention of the other two. Especially the iron-armed ghost, with a ferocious look on his face. He didn't believe there was anyone else here. All the conspirators said was just to protect themselves. After all, he seems to have suffered the most serious damage, but his level of terror is also high. When it comes to recovery, he is definitely the fastest. Once recovered, these two people could only be killed by him. Because of this, in the iron-armed ghost's view, the conspiracy ghost's words were a plea for mercy in another sense. He smiled sinisterly. Just as he was about to speak, a strange voice sounded first, "My greeting gift is quite interesting." The words fell. A figure emerged. Shen Jian was sitting in his seat, as if he had been sitting here for a long time, with a little teasing on his face. There was also a bottomed portion of popcorn on the table. A posture of "you guys can afford it."